Today on the Topping Show, Matt Walsh defends Cracker Barrel CEO after rebranding while most of the internet mocks the company's remodeling of their logo and the interior. DC went 7 days without a homicide as crashes crime under Trump's federal control. Infiniti is going to bring back a sports sedan with twin turbos and a stick shift. And fake Labubu dolls get a hazard warning. All of that and much more on the Topping Show. Thank you everyone for taking the time to tune in today. Today's episode of the Topping Show is proudly sponsored by Topping Technologies. Topping Technologies is an IT value-added reseller and services company with a special proficiency in IT security. Heck, I see their founder at least twice a day. Gotta say he's quite handsome and brilliant. He's me, see that's a joke. If you're an IT leader or a business owner, reach out to the team at sales@toppingtechnologies.com. Also, still giving away a free Flamethrower with every IT purchase with Picatinny rail adapters so you can mount it to any standard AR-15 like all office accessories can be. Go to toppingtechnologies.com and click the Flamethrower button to learn more and see me shooting a flamethrower. And lastly, trying to get to 6,000 subscribers by the end of the month, so if you can click that button and tell your friends and your enemies, I would greatly appreciate it. Now going over to the business part of the podcast, you have some good news from Infiniti. They might make some great cars again, which long overdue. It's been a couple decades. This is brought to us thanks to thedrive.com, specifically Andrew Collins, who's a writer over there. And they say, quote, Infiniti will revive a rear-wheel drive manual sports sedan report. A 2027 Q50S sedan was reportedly teased at a dealer conference with twin turbo that screams rear-wheel drive and manual transmission options. Oh, yeah. That is pure awesomeness. Now, interestingly enough, the designed vehicle on screen, that's the 2018 Q50, it still looks pretty modern. Infiniti's had some good designers throughout the years, but their sales have crashed worse than a Boeing airplane in the past couple of years, even going below 100,000 units per year, which, again, is not great. They've crashed, 50% past 10 years? It is abysmally bad. They are the luxury division of Nissan, which also is not doing great, with perhaps the biggest controversy being, well, they're going to be that CVT transmission, making no one trust their reliability as far as they could throw, or perhaps more accurately, push the Nissan Altimas. Now, I'll keep that nice, beautiful picture on the screen there as I dive into the article, which, again, that looks pretty cool. Now, they say, quote, Infiniti had a dealer conference in Las Vegas, and word is that the brand invoked a few favorite teasings of the new model. Those being rear-wheel drive, manual transmission, and twin-turbo engine. The Q50 is reportedly getting a reboot with a real old-school sports sedan, which is going to be awesome. There are so few stick-shift options left in the United States these days. Less than 30 new vehicles have that option in the U.S., and in terms of volume, it's less than 2% of vehicles sold every year in the United States have a third pedal, also known as a manual transmission, also known as the only way to drive a car and still have a soul. It is 1,000 times fun, and you just can't beat that feeling of downshifting into a corner of the track when you're working the third pedal. But I partially digress. Now, they say, they quote, Automotive News reported some surprising and exciting intelligence today, definitively saying that the new model badge Q50S is slated for the 2027 launch. Like the previous Q50 sedans, it will be built on the Japanese Nissan Skyline sedan platform. This time, it'll run a version of the twin-turbo V6 that makes 400 horsepower in the Nissan Z, which, that's a pretty fun sports car, and I'm actually finally starting to see those on the road. For years, I saw two, one at the dealership and one in the parking lot of a grocery store. And again, they're fun, cute little sports cars, but I think the dealer markups made them abhorrent for anyone to actually buy because it's overpriced. But yeah, in the past 3 weeks, I've seen so many of those. I actually do not believe the articles that say that they surpassed the Toyota Supra in sales recently. Now, they said, again, it's going to have the same horsepower, the same power plant as the Nissan Z. They'll have an even more powerful Redline, Infiniti's performance branding variant that has already been mentioned as being considered as well, which, of course, usually the more higher the trim level, the more profit margin there is. Again, that's one of the benefits of having luxury divisions like General Motors has Cadillac, Honda has Acura, Toyota has Lexus, and Nissan has Infiniti, which, again, not a lot of people, in terms of brand recognition, they've been kind of disappearing. Now, they say that, quote, well, on one hand, it's hard to believe that a mainstream car company would make a big investment in a niche product in 2025, but at the same time, this is kind of exactly what Infiniti needs. A true differentiator from luxury brands, a real reason for enthusiasts to pay attention to it. Yep. The stick shift nostalgia play could totally hook well-off elder millennials and Gen Xers who have fond memories of ripping around the Maximas and G35s 20 years ago. Which, yep. Again, I make fun of General Motors all the time because of, lack of reliability and innovation. But again, the Corvettes, only only automatic, but again, it's impressive on the sheets and on the Nürburgring. But yeah, GM is smart enough to let Cadillac have the CT4 and CT5V Blackwing have stick shift, also known as a manual transmission. A lot of people who are more elder, they appreciate even more, though again, some of the youth are starting to buy some stick shifts as well. Now, they say that, quote, right now, the ecosystem of manual shifting luxury vehicles in America includes Acura Integra, which, again, Honda Civic Type R, better badging, better luxury interior, but again, same part and, well, same frame and everything. But it's also the Cadillac Blackwing, which again, they delineate that the Cadillac CT4V Blackwing, which is a twin-turbo V6, then there's a slightly bigger vehicle with a V8. It's a CT5V Blackwing, which, I mean, those are like that's like $100,000, but oh, so cool. If I had the money, I'd get one of those. Now, they also say that what else? The BMW M2 still comes with a stick shift, but that's a two-door. Infiniti already has a turbo with a Japanese skyline and the engine from the Z. Surely a twin-turbo V6 could be juiced up to make more power without much more than tuning, maybe some intake and exhaust adjustments. It's not exactly low-hanging fruit, but the brand's not starting from scratch either, which that's true. And just for how real the plan is, Auto News didn't hedge it at all and even included Infiniti's America's Vice President, Tiago Castro, describing the redesigned Q50 as an unapologetic and unexpected, and it's reporting he said I shipped Infiniti's people a line myself to see if they could confirm or add anything. He'll update the story if you get those. Joining Infiniti, well, it says it looks like Infiniti is joining Stellantis in taking advantage of America's current regulatory environment to fall back on old tech, which, yeah, again, not the main reason, but one of the biggest reasons why you have less stick shifts in the United States is nowadays they're not as fuel efficient and they, put off more emissions. Again, it used to be years ago, automatic transmissions were not as advanced. They would actually be less fuel efficient and they'd be worse for the environment, with all the emission stuff. But thanks to the Trump administration rolling back a lot of the EPA draconian, I would argue, completely unconstitutional draconian rules around regulations of emissions and, fuel economy averages, now you can actually make some of these stick shifts again, as well as the bigger engines. Granted, V6 isn't huge, but still better than the four banger, as much as I love my little Honda Civic Si. Again, this would get a lot of enthusiast attention. I still think I would guess about 50% take rate will be for the stick shift once this comes out. But again, it's great to get enthusiasts back in the showrooms. This is the first time I've actually talked about Infiniti and been moderately excited in years. Like, this is really cool. I mean, besides this, Infiniti just made boring crossover SUVs like a lot of luxury brands. And again, a lot of people will say it's a stretch to consider Infiniti a luxury item these days. Again, it's luxury pricing, don't get me wrong. But in terms of the quality, build materials, and design, most people, if you were to ask someone what's the top 5 luxury car companies in the US or, in the world, I don't think anyone would say Infiniti. So I think it's smart for them to get back in the ring, pun mildly intended. I'm sure they'll do a Nürburgring run to get some stats out there. And I'm excited to see some great things coming from Infiniti, so I'm actually excited to talk about the brand again. Now, granted, I wouldn't buy this unless I won lottery. I'd love my little four-banger Honda Civic Si with a stick shift. But yeah, if I won lottery, maybe I'd have one of these. Yeah, just to keep the stick shift alive, I'd probably buy one. But let me know your thoughts, because as always, be fascinated to hear what you have to say. Now, going over to the Cultural Pod podcast, and Matt Walsh defending the Cracker Barrel CEO after the company does a complete rebranding. Now, this brought to us thanks to, of course, Matt Walsh's blog at X. And he's responding to, again, this is Cracker Barrel's CEO, Julie. And, they have the old logo, iconic, and the new one, which almost looks like they tried to copy a tech company. Very simplistic. They got rid of the cracker and the barrel, pun intended, obviously. And Matt Walsh he's actually sticking up for her, which why I'm so befuddled over, starting more than usual. It's a very unusual move for Matt to make, I think. Now, Matt Walsh says, quote, "People are blaming this CEO for the change, and rightfully so, but she didn't come up with this awful idea. She hired a bunch of marketing agencies to freshen up the brand or whatever, and it just takes more evidence," or says, "and that's just more evidence that the entire marketing industry is completely fake. It's a $500 billion racket in the US, and it's exclusively run by people who have no idea how to market or brand anything. The industry basically exists to give high-paying jobs to talentless women," which, well, if you look at, who is in marketing jobs, he's not lying. Spoiler, a lot of them are, trying to move things around on the screen here, make it better. So that way I'm looking more at the camera. And yeah, he says, and again, he's trying to stick up for her. Yeah, I'm going to have to not roast Matt Walsh, but disagree with him today. Again, the CEO signs off on anything. They sign off on everything. And even if the CEO isn't a micromanager, You know the marketing firms that you're hiring, you know their track records. You know what they're going to do. And these marketing firms don't just say, oh, yeah, we're going to go. They present to you. They present to the company. It's very rare for someone to say, oh, yeah, hey, marketing company, do whatever you want. There'll be no checks and balances. Not at all. Just go run off and do what you want with one of the most valuable assets, our brand. That Matt Walsh, again, a lot of marketing companies get a bad rap. He says, it's all a racket. Not really. I mean, some of the best marketing campaigns in history revolutionized the companies in terms of their sales, people's entire interaction with the product, their perception of the product. Again, I think a lot of it is crap. Being a small business owner, I try to quantify anything and everything when it comes to our marketing campaigns. That's why we do a lot of face-to-face things, physical events like Scars of Cybersecurity, shoot full auto suppress security spheres. And this is one of those things where it's very easy to quantify. We have the ad for this, we have the event, people show up, we have a cost per person in terms of the overhead and the event costs. Then we could say this event generated X amount of pipeline and this amount of sales were converted from those prospective sales pipeline becoming sales. And so it's very easy to quantify on a small scale. And to me, it works. And obviously, we keep doing those fun events. And some marketing, though, I do debate. Like car commercials on TV, I always think that's the biggest waste of money because I don't know how many people are really influenced by a car commercial on TV. I mean, a car review on YouTube, that I think could be more persuasive and more value add to the consumer. Usually, historically, not sponsored by the car companies because of conflict of interest. But yeah, in terms of car commercial on TV or car commercial on TV, no, I think that's mostly crap. I think that's just for brand awareness. I don't think it converts to sales. But in terms of marketing being a complete racket, I mean, I'm a little bit of a gearhead. One of the best advertising campaigns in history was done by Honda, or rather, I apologize to forget the marketing company behind the campaign. But before Honda made motorcycles and you changed the whole market, people had the perception of Harley Davidson being, Harleys being motorcycles, being the biggest brand. Oh, they're for tough bikers, they're for the rough guys. And Honda, and I apologize, I forget the marketing campaign that they worked with, they came out with the whole slogan, and it just showed average, they weren't bikers, but they were, average Americans on a Honda. And the tagline was, you meet the nicest people on a Honda. I believe that was in the 1960s when Honda was just getting started in the United States distribution and sales of motorcycles. That revolutionized the entire idea of motorcycles, and the adoption rate was astronomical. And Honda is still to this day one of the best motorcycle companies on the planet. And it was in part because of that campaign that completely revolutionized the perception of motorcycles. So again, some of these marketing, I mean, one of my favorite use cases is AOL, the silly floppy disk, and I forget her name. I apologize. Marketing gal who thought of that, she was a genius. The adoption rate for American Online, or AOL, back in the day, she had that shoestring budget. She thought of that little floppy disk, and it became one of the largest, most successful, valuable companies on the planet in history because of her marketing campaign. So again, it's one of those things where a lot of these many marketing campaigns are crap. You can't really quantify much, but some of them are quite literally historical and life-changing. So again, it's one of those things where I think Matt Stefani, the CEO, I mean, she knew who she was hiring. She built the culture around the company. She's been there for more than a couple of years. It's not like she came in last week and made all these dramatic changes. I mean, she knows the organization. She sets the tone and culture of the company for the executives, and that permeates throughout the company. And they know who they're hiring. It's like it's a random marketing company that they hired. They looked at their previous work. They knew they were going to make some radical changes. And Cracker Barrel thought it'd be a good idea. They'll increase their sales. Spoiler, public reaction is not good to say the least. Now, dive into the comments here. The first one, and again, this went viral. I got 1.5 million views and 23,000 likes. The first one comes to us thanks to a refugee. Well, I'm only partially kidding. He's born in Canada and he's conservative. Imagine being born in a totalitarian, terrible country with American freedom right there, just so close. Now, he says, quote, just look at what happened with Aunt Jemima. It backfired so hard on blacks, getting 7 likes. I mean, there's also an insult to that actress who portrayed Aunt Jemima, and apparently her family got royalties from that. My conspiracy theory is the company took that opportunity of the backlash against some of those mascots that they didn't have to pay royalties to the family anymore. That's just my 3 cents. Now, Alex Grace also says the funniest part is these companies spent millions on branding experts, and the only consistent brand they create is failure, getting 7 likes, which, yeah, there are a lot of overpaid consultants. And again, one of the most valuable logos in history, I believe, was Symantec, where, well, it was Norton Antivirus and merged with Symantec. That logo, they kind of hid the cost with the acquisition, but some people say it's a $140 million logo. BP or British Petroleum also spent hundreds of millions of dollars redoing the logo after the Gulf incident. So it's a thing where, again, rebranding is very important for a company. Sometimes it can help, but sometimes it hurts. Ray Alexander says, here's some alternatives I whipped up with Grok. And you have that's a pretty good one. Although, again, it's modern advertising. You don't see a lot of white folks in there. It's my kind of joke. You can't see it on screen here, but I have a Nintendo NES in the original cardboard packaging. And I say it's rare because on the back it's a white family. Which, again, in advertisement and marketing, you really don't see at all. That's why City Sweeney is so viral. Is very different than the average marketing campaign people see. And that's actually pretty good. He basically just colorized the old logo, made it more third-dimensional. Yeah, it's really good. And that's just with Grok, which, again, costs like, what, $70 a month or something like that? Here's another one. That's pretty cool. Got 731 likes. I Love American News says, sad but true. They have, that actress who trans herself in the Cracker Barrel logo. Getting 539 likes. Mike Gets Mad says, quote, Cracker Barrel will still sell the same shitty, greasy food, but now we'll have rainbow rocking chairs, goofy-ass logo, Pottery Barn walls. You'll be served by an illegal trans immigrant named Dojo with green hair and media and name tag listing his pronouns. 190 likes, and obviously satire. Well, for now. Although they did actually have the trans-painted rocking chairs. Maverick Alexander says, quote, how many jobs exist just to pay women not to have families? Getting 581 likes. Yeah, there's a lot of them. I mean, again, if you could look at any marketing company, the demographics are overwhelmingly young, liberal, white women. Yeah, Bud Light, I'm thinking about you guys. That was, Alyssa Heischerchild, the best example of spending. They spent, what was it? $158,000, I believe, for the brand endorsement with Dylan Mulvaney, only to lose over $1 billion in sales per year. That's perhaps the best example of a negative marketing ROI that didn't put the company completely out of business. You also have Orin the Flight says, people will also ask who is the majority shareholder of Cracker Barrel. It's, institutions like BlackRock, Vanguard, State Street. Got 25 likes. Sam Squatch says, quote, what the heck? He claims one of those Jew daycares for women? What? Deals, I've seen what that means. I don't know what that means. Getting 615 likes. Golden Epoch says, took me 5 minutes with ChatGPT. I got 155 likes. That looks pretty good. James Rockford says, oh, they took the upcoming Obama library and just slapped a Cracker Barrel logo on, gained 24 likes. And a couple of people are referencing some of the Cracker Barrels, moderately recent, within the past, I think, 6 years. Their allegiance, LGBTQ plus allegiance. It says, supporting home office and field employees to bring their whole selves to work while strengthening Cracker Barrel's relationship with LGBTQ plus community, getting 133 likes, which, again, if you're a public traded company, there's a whole investment rating for that as well. ESG scores also come into effect. Again, there's reasons why publicly traded companies tend to lean into some of these cultural things. So yeah, Matt Walsh, what is this here? Peter Snowfall says, I just freshened up the Daily Wire logo. Focus groups rated 10 out of 10. That'll be $5 million at 8 likes, which he just made it in Grok. Yeah, it doesn't look that bad, actually. I don't know if it's better than their current logo. But yeah, I think it's a rare miss by Matt Walsh, but let me know your thoughts and comments because, as always, be fascinated to hear what you have to say. Other interesting cultural news, you have Cracker Barrel's interiors and redesigns going viral on social media and getting roasted left and right. Now, this is brought to us thanks to End Wokeness. And he says, quote, a modernized Cracker Barrel interior, which, dear God, that's depressing. I live I call it a sad cliche single man's apartment. Well, I guess I rent a house for my company and show. But yeah, I mean, that's less decor than my place. And again, I have business signs behind me, but like, living room / gym, what's on my walls? I guess nothing. Race medals. Like this looks like any boring restaurant. There's nothing. There's sound? Not really. Just white noise or noise of a restaurant. Not a single knickknack on the tables. The tables look like boring tables you can get out of a restaurant. And it got, that actually got 855,000 views and 9.2 thousand likes. Matt Van Soul says, no, this is what they took away from us. And here you can see the OG Cracker Barrel. Again, you have all the fun knickknacks, the oldies, old lamps on the ceiling. The tables are old, probably real wood. Definitely not IKEA. And they got the old-timey chairs. Yeah, looks cute as hell. You got 3.5 thousand likes. Paul Zupa says, as character leaves, so do the consumers, getting 661 likes. The Waco Kid has a picture of the Cracker Barrel logo, the original one, with Sydney Sweeney. And then he has a new one with I forget her name, but it's the overweight pro-LGBTQ activist that Democrats hired to lure back men, which won't work, getting 70 likes. The conservative alternative says, quote, dull lifelessness devoid of American culture, so culture wokeness in a nutshell, getting 218 likes. Actually, let me pull up another side-by-side picture. This is, again, thanks credited to End Wokeness. He says, quote, Cracker Barrel CEO Julie Massano should face charges for this crime against humanity. And here you can see, again, got all the cool old knickknacks, got old radio flyer. What is it? Yeah, the radio flyer, not wheelbarrow, little cart kid would ride in. You got an old, onboard motor for a canoe. You got a canoe paddle. And then the new design, the shit is, what? Try to zoom in really quick here. Oh, well, there we go. That looks like crappy modern art, which is saying something because modern art in general is crappy already. So, I mean, this could be an iPop or an Arby's. Like, you have generic booths, and on the wall, it's like bastardized modern art from IKEA. They have some generic, more modern-looking mugs glued to a canvas, I guess. And what's the other thing? Is that one of those? Again, I'm not a chef by any means. Guess that. Yeah, those are, bread rollers. We call the stick of wood, the stick of wood with handles that you take dough and it turns into flatness. Again, I am obviously very much single at the time of this recording. I mostly use the microwave and the blending Vitamix blender for my meals. Not a lot of meals made from scratch around here. That got 3.8 million views too. And yeah, let me know in the comments, what the heck is that silly thing called? I think it's just called a roller, isn't it? It is a specific term for it. Now, again, this got 3.8 million views and 72,000 likes. The first comments comes to us thanks to Matt Van Swol saying, quote, no way, is that the new interior? If so, I'll never walk into the door until they revert back, getting 1,000 likes. Old Super says, quote, a lot of bad decisions there, getting 175 likes. The conservative alternative says, quote, never eating there again. They destroyed the last vestige of vintage American culture, getting 86 likes. Going down more and more. Retard Takes says, end of an era. It's some movie, was it Silver Surfer or whatever? But a girl says, your planet is now marked for death. And the guy goes, we ask why? The creature says, Cracker Barrel deserved better, getting 210 likes. One bad dude says, and the only thing missing is this dude, is Dylan Mulvaney from a famous GIF years ago where he says, time to normalize the bulge that men, when they dress up as women, have what tight clothing, getting 69 likes. Stoic Patriot says, quote, Cracker Barrel is not something you modernize. That's the whole damn point of Cracker Barrel. Getting 6.8 thousand likes. Yeah. I mean, the best metaphor would be if you go to medieval times and then they change it from horses and jousting to soldiers on modern, or I guess not modern anymore, but M1 Abrams tanks shooting machine guns. That would be awesome and very entertaining, but it's not medieval times anymore. It's Modern Warfare 2, the restaurant. I don't know. I mean, yeah, they took the heart and soul out of it. Tulsa Doom says, they always look like this. Is a picture of the CEO, who, again, has a cliche leftist glasses, thicker than a tree branch. And there are like 10,000 plus glasses frame designs out there. Granted, they're made by like 2 companies, but like they always seem to choose the worst design glasses. And again, I'm no fashion aficionado. I just know how to pick out one good suit once and make it last forever. I was about to say, over a decade. Roll down. Yeah. Brian Ginter says this is why, yes, BlackRock did invest in Cracker Barrel. It is the largest institutional shareholder at 15.35% of all the ownership as of June 30th, 2025. They got 858 likes. Oh, geez. House of Trad is a picture of, oh, dear God. What is wrong with her? Wow, Miley Cyrus looking normal with the original Cracker Barrel logo, and now modern with her face is all messed up. Very hollowed out, a lot of surgery, short hair. I mean, she looks pretty bad, and I don't have much ground to stand on, but still, god dang. Scrolling down more and more. You have someone with the CEO's picture says, I did that, getting 1.8 thousand likes. Isabel Maria Del Luca says, quote, if I walk into a Cracker Barrel and it looks like the photo on the right, I will be walking out quickly, getting 2.9 thousand likes. You have a contrarian statement finally? Cody McKinley says Cracker Barrel is white culture. The gift shop feels white, the logo, the rocking chairs, fireplaces, the old American antiques on the wall, and of course the food. Everything about the restaurant reflects white culture, and now they just destroyed it all. Getting 685 likes and 124 responses. It's excellent engagement baiting, maybe. You have Snavely says, oddly enough, it still feels white, but the shitty kind of white, like Gap or decaf soy latte found a decaf soy latte found a sperm donor. And 32 likes. Let's see. Also, not at all likely the CEO grew up in the South. Did he hashtag the CEO? I don't think so. Grew up South. If he did, he would know that no matter how racist the South might have been, blacks and whites pretty much lived in the same stuff, do the same things, and work side by side mostly. I grew up in Shreveport, Louisiana. And I don't think it's necessarily a white place. I'm pretty sure I see mostly all old people go to Cracker Barrel. But again, unfortunately, their main customers are passing away. But Cracker Barrel is trying to modernize because they think they'll get new customers. They do need to get new customers. I don't think this is the effective way to go around doing it. Let's see. Gabriel says, you're insane. The patrons of the 1 Year Me is always at least half black every time I go, getting 4 likes. Going back to the main comment sections. Brick Suit. Oh yeah. How am I not already following him? I am now. He says, quote, better logo for Cracker Barrel. And he just changed the font, so the wording, so it says corporate sterile. Getting 952 likes, which yeah, looks very much like a soulless, disgusting logo. A lot of people referencing their stock is just dipping. Wow, 16% now down. Getting out of financial advice, but they've also been going down for years. This is starting to add insult to injury. It wasn't hurting it that much at the first debut of the logo, but yeah, it's getting down more and more. Let's see. Humanoid says she made the mom and pop's store an IHOP, getting 62 likes. But yeah, the interior looks like that. Global Index has oh yeah, that's a good Fallout parody. It says everyone disliked that, getting 213 likes. So again, that's the new Cracker Barrel, and I don't think this is going to help them turn the company around or get any additional sales. But let me know your thoughts, because as always, be fascinated to hear what you have to say. Going over to the political part of the podcast, you have Trump saving DC as homicide rates crash to 0 and carjackings are down more than 70, actually 80%. Now, this is brought to us thanks to Johnny Maga. Now, he says, quote, holy smokes, DC just went 7 days without a single homicide for the first time in a long time under Trump's takeover. Carjackings are down 83% and robberies are down 46%. The solution was really simple. Bring this nationwide now. Let me pull this up here. This is credited to Rapid Response 47. They are White House correspondent, apparently. I'm going to give them a follow.
When the National Guard hit the ground in Washington last week, that city's crime fight went into overdrive. And now we're seeing the impact and the dramatic reductions in crime. When the National Guard rolled into
ADHD, that's a nice Honda Civic Type R Gen 10.
Washington last week, the locals seemed skeptical.
The crime is minimal here. There's not really a lot of crime here. It looks like window dressing to me.
But with the guard on...
He just said there's not a lot of crime there. And historically, Washington, D.C. has had a higher crime rate than most third world countries.
The ground, crime is on the decline. For the first time in a long time, D.C. has gone 7 days without a homicide. And that's not all. Carjackings are down 83%. Robberies are down 46%. Car thefts down 21%. And overall violent crime is down 22%.
When you have these kind of numbers going down, it basically says this is a success. And that means people feel safer.
Like many big cities, Washington's police department is critically short-staffed.
People who don't feel safe aren't free.
Sergeant Betsy Smith with the National Police Association says it is ripe for federal help.
More police generally equals less crime.
Yep. Well, I'm sure Democrats will find a way to be very upset with this because Trump is actually bringing law and order to D.C. Again, rare thing. This went moderately viral, got about 300,000 views and 25,000 likes, which, again, also shows you how lazy, inept, or corrupt Republicans and Democrats are. Again, they control D.C. It's not its own separate, it's not a state. Republicans go to work every day in D.C., just like Democrats. It's been years. Why didn't they do anything? Ted Cruz brought this up in an interview with Tucker Carlson, and then Tucker Carlson, I would think, rightly roasted him, saying, well, why don't you guys do anything? Why aren't you on the House floor pontificating about how terrible DC's become? I think it's because they don't care. A lot of useless rhinos, a lot of sellouts, and most of these crimes are hurting the common people. They don't care. They got their 6-figure jobs in DC. They get their health benefits. They get all the juicy benefits of those government jobs. And again, they could have done this years ago. They didn't. Let me in comments why you think they didn't. But yeah, Trump finally put an end to this, and I think DC might actually be a safe place to live one of these days. Now, the real question is, again, this DC is within Trump's authority, obviously. What will happen to other shitties, as I pejoratively mispronounce leftist hellholes? Do you think they'll actually accept his help if he offers it? If he's offering it, I think because of hubris and pride, they'll never accept Donald Trump's help in anything, actually, except it's just free money or bailouts. But let me hear your thoughts on that note. One of the first comments comes to us thanks to Jeff Carlton, saying, quote, 7 days without a homicide. Can't wait to see how Democrats spin that as a bad thing, getting 234 likes. I Love American News says the Trump effect. It says big balls matter, getting 65 likes. Beef Swellington says roll this out to every major blue city, getting 33 likes, which, again, those would, I believe, go out of Trump's immediate control. I forget what mechanism he might be able to call upon that. That got 33 likes. Exilis says, when you enforce the law, crime goes down. Amazing technology. Bring this to every city in America, getting 33 likes. Tide Reactionary says, quote, Democrats fundamentally believe that some people deserve to live in crime-ridden shitholes, getting 7 likes. Charting Wealth has the famous gif of the gal who cried like a child in 2016 when Trump won the first time, saying, no, getting 29 likes. Goes the Evil says, this is what I voted for, getting 11. So I get 12 likes. McClicklock says, quote, that's how easy it is and just how quick the problem can be resolved. Just go to show how incompetent and diabolic the Democrat city managers really are, getting 16 likes. And yeah, I mean, San Francisco, I make fun of all the time because it is a shithole, literally. Again, they say they cleaned up that shitty when Xi Jinping came in town, when Salesforce, one of the largest software companies on the planet, when they had their major conference of the year, Gavin Newsom did clean up the shitty for those 2 events. It showed it could be done, but why fix a problem? Because if you do that, then you can't campaign on it. And Gavin Newsom's had that, or Newsom, has had that war against poverty and homelessness for a decade plus, spending billions of dollars that is just unaccounted for. I think these mayors just have no desire, and the governors have no desire to actually do anything. Joseph Marzano says, quote, turns out we just need a new president, getting 13 likes. Blue Moose American says, quote, 1 week without murder, that's incredible, on FAO, which it's kind of sad that that is something to celebrate because, I mean, obviously the crime should be like that majority of the time. But yeah, I mean, for DC, which again has had a higher murder rate than some third world countries, a week without murder, that is exceptionally great. That's why it's making headlines. It's so rare and unprecedented in that shitty. You have Alaska in the Desert saying accountability works. You don't say, getting 12 likes. Yep. Missouri Patriot says, and for some reason, Democrats are outraged, getting 6 likes. Let's see here. VJT says, facts, time to scale these policies up. Safe streets shouldn't just be for DC only. Americans deserve real results everywhere, getting 19 likes. Make it 20. So yeah, DC is actually safe. Rich says it's crazy what happens when you just enforce the law, getting 21. Whoa, 22 likes, going up like a stock. AG says, it makes me sick that Democrats allow violence and unrest, putting their constituents at risk so they can justify more government spending and control and justify limitations on our rights and freedoms, getting 10 likes, which, again, that is a good point in terms of, yeah, if the problem still exists, the government can just demand more and more in your tax dollars, our tax dollars, and they can steal more and more of their power. I do have a contrarian statement. Colton Hicks simply says, bootlegger. He did get 18 likes for that. But again, I think it just goes to show, like, yeah, some people are upset about this. And again, he's upset that this person, I guess, is giving Donald Trump credit, which, again, Trump does a lot of good things. There's a lot of things I don't like, but I mean, he just did something that's unprecedented for DC. I think that's a great thing, even though I don't live there. I mean, I don't want people to die anywhere. So it's one of those good things. And I mean, we'll see if it actually gets done on Matt's level and what legal mechanisms he could use and how much Democrats resist. But let me know your thoughts because, as always, be fascinated to hear what you have to say. Now, going over to the business blunder of the day, you have consumer giving a safety report about fake Labubus, which is something I did have to Google because I had no idea what the hell those things are. Now, this brought us thanks to the United States Consumer Product Safety Commission, perhaps the only useful government website, which, well, granted, that is a low bar. They say, quote, Consumer Safety Alert, CPSC issues urgent safety warning for Labubu collectors. And again, I don't know. I guess I could understand it because as I was a child, Beanie Babies were, for some reason, loved by everyone. And people actually invested in those things. Not financial advice. Never invest in like knickknacks or toys. Now, they note that, quote, the fakes sold in both plush figures and plush keychains are small enough for a child to fit it in the doll in their mouth and block their airway. The CPSC has also received reports of fake Labubu dolls that can break apart easily, releasing small pieces that could become choking hazards. And then they've issued a warning for the people not to buy these knockoffs. Now, again, the issue is it's harder to actually stop these importation because unlike a traditional product where, again, you actually have a chain of command of where it comes from, yeah, these are basically smuggled in and they're all, they're not following the law to begin with. So I'm not surprised that, again, they're breaking apart left and right. And again, they say to, how do you spot a fake? They say, be aware of bargains, steep discounts usually signals a fake. There's an authentic, what the heck is this? Jeez, just like Beanie Babies, an authentic Pop Mart Labubu doll features a holographic Pop Mart sticker, a scannable QR code to the official Pop Mart website, which, not to be too much of a pessimistic, but yeah, anyone can make a QR code and slap it on a tag. Holographic, that is above the standard counterfeiters care, because again, the more effort you put into a counterfeit item, the less profit there is. So, or less, effort you put into it. So I would say, yeah, if it's not holographic, that'd probably be a big sign. They say fakes often have bright colors or the wrong number of teeth. The authentic dolls have 9 teeth, which is hilarious that someone actually found that out. They say you should also know your seller, purchase only from trusted stores and online marketplaces. Check the safety labeling for toys with small parts. Look for a choking hazards, warnings, and independent safety certification marks that should be on the label. And again, in terms of the silver lining of the situation, they do not yet know of any child who's passed away or been dreadfully hurt because of this, these dangerous knockoffs. And I also want to say right now, U.S. Customs, these and these fake Labubus, you are certainly the business blunder of the day. Thank you everyone for taking the time to tune in today. Again, try to get to 6,000 subscribers by the end of the month, so click that button. I greatly appreciate it. Also, give me a thumbs up, thumbs down, or comment. It's a great way to give me some additional feedback, letting me know how I can make the show better and better. Lastly, don't forget to take time to tell your family, tell your friends, tell your coworkers, heck, tell your enemies, tell everyone. Just stay safe, fight the good fight.